I loved seeing everybody making new peer connections in the lunchroom downstairs and seeing old friends. We also have some returning panelists, and we're really excited to dive into our topic. So, scaling generative AI. Is there a silver bullet? I can assure you that everybody would love to know what that is. This comes up in our leaders' meetings quite a bit. Or is it a technical challenge? And of course, there are going to be some technical challenges with associating with this, and we're going to talk through those. But first, I want to begin with cultural and organizational barriers. When we're talking about a technology that's pervasive across essentially all parts of the business, HR, marketing, data, legal, what have you, you need to think about your culture and specifically the strategies on how you want to implement this technology, and also to address some of the skepticism, perhaps, and even resistance that's coming along with this technology. So with that, Giorgio, what are some of the things that you've been working on within your organization that you're seeing?
Yeah, as you say, resistance is one of the main points that starts initially. Disruption technology, what's the impact, resistance in terms of how does it change even the perception of the resources, well, how it's going to change the work is seen as sometimes higher in the risk than the value, while the main important point is there to do the right education, show that is value added and time is got free to get more insightful activities, understanding which silos, data or parts of the organization map out clearly, how are the data managed, how the silo break those silos, open up and foster a culture of cooperation and self-nurturing, cross-discipline, and that's a key to achieve a result. Again, when we talk about AI in general, Gen AI or none, we're talking about making impacts. They can be a low percentage, but can have a high numeric financial impact on every organization. So the first point is the foundational. Start from people, start from data and silos broken, start from community. And on the other side, talking about bias. We talk always about model bias, data bias. This is done for not just by the quality of data we have into our system, which is one of the main components, but also by humans. How much diversity you have, how many equality is guaranteed. In America and in overall, in tech in general, you have 28% only female into the field. I see more and more here representation, and I'm happy on what I see compared to other places I've been, and I'm very proud of this, but still we're very far away from where we should be. In AI is even less than what I stated before. Yeah. We need to add different point of views because that's how the bias got broken. New point of view can help improve the models, the quality, and the final result.
Are you seeing as organizations are onboarding teams, are upskilling their teams more broadly, how are they taking those operational gains and reinvesting it back into the company? Are we there yet? Have you seen any examples?
Some are, some not. It depends on the vertical for what I'm seeing, and depends on the country. I'm starting from US because it's easier. The reinvestment goes into tech because when they see the impact is measurable, obviously there is more push for acceleration and training on the other side. I see less still, that we're still far away when we should be on equality, but we get in there. There's a little more effort needs to be there.
Excellent. All right, well, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about key factors for successful scaling when it gets to infrastructure requirements, data management, and system integrations. What types of roles do those play in the process? And I'd love to start with you, Saidulu.
Yeah, so it's a great question. Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you for addressing cultural and organizational barriers as well. That's so thoughtful. So to scale this generative AI, which is deep learning models or any strong and where you need a lot of computing power. So from infrastructure standpoint, I would always think about ensuring we have the right computing power with scalability and low latency and high throughput. So if you concentrate on these three elements, so how quickly we can collect the data from different sources and then harmonize it, cleanse it, and store it so that the data is near real time available for your models. and you have the right infrastructure like GPUs, TPUs, or any other advanced hardware is available to learn about the data, process it, so that it can give the near real-time advancements in your business applications. So it is based on your use cases. Certain times, if you need the data to be centrally located, then you can use the data platform or a data fabric. If your use case is demanding edge computing, then you need to have a data centrally located and transfer the data on near real-time or real-time to the edge devices, so that the data will be monetized and take near real decisions. In a couple of examples are autonomous driving or the AC units that are running in the storage units. So those require the edge computing. For example, if you are doing a personalization or any near real-time experiences, recommendations in the retail channels, this needs a data platform. So I would always think about what are my use cases and work backwards, what are my computing power I need, how much scalability I need, then talk about how do I enable the real-time versus near real-time. And going into the data management, so all these generative AI applications need vast amount of the data. So before we talk about data, so the first everybody should align is the quality of the data. So we have petabytes of data that is sitting in our Oracle databases, SQL Server databases, but are the right data to train our neural networks or our models? So if the quality data is not there, obviously the model is going to drift, and the output it is going to give is going to be not valuable for the customers. So focus on the data quality, so that as soon as you focus on the data quality, and next one is this generative AI needs lot of data. So I would encourage to go and then look into where my data is coming in, how it is coming in, is it near real time, and there are multiple ways of data integration methods. So once you get the data into your S3 bucket or some kind of data storage, from there you build your data pipelines to cleanse it, harmonize it, augment it. Then last but not least is privacy and securing the data, so that we are comprehensively taking data as a strategic asset. I strongly believe in garbage in and garbage out. Yes. So if you are not taking care of your data, it does not matter how much super fast computers you have, hardware you have, then your models are not going to work. Third one, which is very important, because every organization have a lot of legacy systems, like either it could be ERP systems or CRM systems or databases. They are already existing, that has a lot of data. But how do you make sure this data is accessible to your Gen AI models or even the regular AI models, is to have the seamless interoperability, maybe through APIs or microservices. If you cannot build the data platform and bring the data and then collect the data and store it in one place and then start monetizing the data, that takes time. So in the meantime, leverage these APIs and microservices, which are highly scalable and containerizable, so that we can enable the data is accessible to that model. So these are the few elements that I would focus on, on infrastructure, data management, and integration standpoint.
Okay, excellent. So Priya, shifting to you, let's talk a little bit about technical hurdles. So specifically, the primary technical and operational challenges that perhaps you've encountered while scaling these types of solutions, how you have overcame those, and perhaps some industry best practices to share would be fantastic.
So I like to, whatever I do at work, I try to connect it back to my other full-time job of being, a homemaker, a mom. And I don't see scaling AI to be a lot different than managing my household with 2 kids. It started with the first kid, my husband, and then the other 2 kids. So we did scale. So be it like a last-minute school project or a data glitch with your AI projects, regardless of which problem you're dealing with, you need to be quick and innovative in your thinking and have lots of patience with AI and with kids. So that's what we are facing right now. So I'll give you a quick example of one of the AI projects that we are dealing with. It is a customer-facing application that we're building, Zeus Fire and Security. As you can tell from the name, we are a security firm. And we support large national accounts, large retail chains, quick-serve restaurants across the nation. So with one of our large retail chains, the problem that we're trying to solve is reduce their shrink due to theft. So we are generating or building computer vision models to kind of help them and identify shrink or identify theft at the right point, at the right time, so that it can help reduce their shrink issue. In order to do that, if you think about a retail store, even though they are a chain, every store looks somewhat different, but they have some common plans. So the problem we are facing right now is the models that we have built is working for the first one, worked for the second one, worked for the third one. How is it going to work for 1,000 stores or more across the nation? So scalability is a big issue. Model training is a big issue. Because every data point that you're gathering, even though there are some layouts that may be similar, there is always nuances and challenges that you face as you are building one store after next after next. So the way we are trying to solve for it is working with our client, our customer, to identify what are your most common store layouts and trying to simulate our data for those most common store layouts so that we kind of go with the 80-20 rule, so that 80% of at least the stores will work with the models that we built, and there is not a lot of retraining needed for every store that we deploy those models for. So we're kind of going with those common patterns in achieving scale with training and commonalities.
Giorgio, any difficulties that you've overcome? How you've managed to?
It's many.
Pick one.
I think it really depends, again, it depends on the use case and how you start. Sure. But learning the part of the components on the learning part is the most critical. As I said before, bias comes in, many components comes in, how you craft that, but it depends on the final use case. But that point you made is crucial for us. Yep. And it impacts dramatically the output. That's why for me, sometimes we forget how much, I agree with what you say, scalability and tech, but the human component is one of the main challenges I see right now, more than the tech. The tech is there. Right. How we leverage the rest to complete to achieve and go to the next level in this challenge is missing. It's still a work in progress, let's say.
Okay. Well, we focused a fair amount on challenges, so let's talk about some of the successes. I know that in a lot of conversations that we have, people are just clamoring for successful case studies, even if they're on a smaller scale. So I'd love to ask you, Ash, if you could share an example with us of some successful projects that you've worked on recently.
Sure. So first of all, I think there's a lot of hype, rightfully so, with generative AI. In my current role, for the next 18 months, we're trying to make an impact of about $1 billion, billion with a B. Generative AI is going to play a role, but not that big a role. And I think Scott earlier in the panel was talking about this as well, that every problem that you're trying to solve is not a generative AI problem to be solved. There are many other there are many other ways to solve that. Now, talking about the generative AI use cases, we started early. I'm new to this company, but at my previous company, I can start sharing from there. I was in aerospace and defense, and we had a program where we had to do some video analysis. Won't go into details about what it was and why it was being done, but we were doing video analysis. In real time, you had to give the information back for what's happening in that particular video. And it was a $400 million program. A large team of people were looking at that information in real time, sending text, or not text, but that this is happening, that you need to go in and do that. So what we did was we did take a multimodal model to put to work. And we did first side-by-side comparison of what the human output was and what the AI output was. Yep. Any guesses on what the human output accuracy is? Anyone in the room? Take a guess.
70%?
You're close, about 80%. And when we did the AI algorithm, the multimodal Gen AI model on it, we were able to get about 82%. So it was pretty close. And we went back to our customer and we said, this is what we're seeing. I can use this and I can use this. If I go down this path, there's some cost savings. There's some cost savings of almost about $40 million in that program.
It's just a little.
Just a little bit. And obviously, the customer said, let's go with it.
Nice.
So there you go. You could make an impact of about $40 million on a program using generative AI.
Nice.
And not only that, I think I would also say that I'm a prime optimist on the generative AI side too. We talk about, I think earlier in the panel we were talking about the human in the loop. Yes, the human in the loop will always remain. However, the idea of taking control, I am not married to that idea. I think we need to give control to AI to learn from it. Because that's the power of generative. That's the power that what you and I are not thinking about. Things like, how do you design a hypersonic drone? Right? It's a pretty complicated problem to solve. But you can. When you give that control, you're not saying you'll go and design that based on what the generative AI gives you the design with, but the possibilities of how it can be done is where you start looking at that. And that is the power, that is what I think, what I'm excited about in the next coming years as well.
Yeah, those are some incredible numbers. Saidu, any wins that you can share with us?
Sure. So the use cases that I noticed is if whatever the AI use cases that we are going to build, if those use cases are not aligned with your business priorities, and if there is no alignment from the top, so I see they failed. So either they failed or they took long time to implement it. So that is, I always suggest whatever use cases that we are going to come up with that, come up with a metrics and value driven use cases, and also how this is going, they are going to improve the business operational efficiency or your customer productivity and lifetime value of the customer. So have your narration backed up those use cases and ensure you have the right prioritization and right resources with the right skill set are available to making sure you are enabling the faster time to market and continuously training those models with the right data and maximizing the value of them. So I can give one example. So in my previous company, we wanted to automate contact center operations. So when a customer picks a phone and call, it takes 16 minutes to address the phone call, and it is $5 to $7 cost per call that each we are spending. So we wanted to automate, but in the given priorities of the initiatives that are prioritized for that quarter, this was on the lowest, but somehow the management pushed it. We went and bought that product called Core.ai, and then when we started implementing it, from the legacy systems and legacy monolithic APIs to integrating into this Gen AI based platform, we did not have resources. There was no buy-in from the business. They are not giving the requirements on the prioritization standpoint. So we wanted to deliver it in 3 months, but that took 9 months to deliver it. We spent money like triple the money than what we expected. In another example where we wanted to, in a different organization where we want to automate the sentiment analysis and chatbot and virtual bot in our commerce platform. So that was done in 2 months because everybody is rallied under that vision. We see that is needed, and enabling where customers can go on then freely by turning on their video and talk to the human bot. We implemented Soul Machines as our digital humanoid, where that digital humanoid can see the human who is talking in front of me, and then whether that person is happy, sad or grumpy, and do the sentiment analysis and give the intuitive answers by doing all the factors that what emotion that particular customer is in. So that we were able to launch in US and Canada in 2 months, but we deployed all those in 60. So that's where I'm saying, so whatever use cases that we are taking, the success and failure is dependent on how you rally your business and define the value and continuously measure it.
So I want to end with a future kind of looking at scaling generative AI past what we're discussing, kind of what we've already achieved within our own roles to date. So that said, Priya, I'd love to start with you and hear from each of you on what are the innovations and advancements that you're seeing particularly that you think scaling generative AI will help to make it more effective? And then how are you preparing your enterprise, and how should enterprises be preparing for that?
Yeah, so there's tons, right? Like in just the last couple years, we've seen it ramp up so much. Every day you hear something new. You miss a podcast or news one morning and you feel like you're behind on what's new out there.
And you have an emergency pod.
I know. The few ones that I'm really looking forward to, I know we've all talked about data as foundations, so stronger data platforms, how they pipeline back into the AI outputs. That's one obvious one that I can't miss to mention. The other big one for me is AI as a service. This as a service model was so big a few years ago with SaaS platforms, iPaaS platforms, infrastructure platforms, and now it's to AI as a service. It will truly democratize using AI for smaller businesses, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to reduce cost, again, on our side, on the IT side.
Right.
But last but not the least, on how can we establish stronger governance models, to Giorgio's earlier point on biases and promoting the right level of diversity into building AI, so that those biases that are being seen on the output or the outcome of AI are reduced. Because we're sitting here all talking about, since this morning it has been brought up a couple times, about bias in AI models. And being an immigrant, being a woman in technology, I have firsthand experience of what these unfair biases would do to your daily opportunities or just your daily experiences. And we as tech leaders sitting here in this room, I think the onus is on us to make sure that we build the right AI models, implement the right AI solutions with the right principles of fairness and equality. So seeing some true work on that is my forefront.
It does. Ash?
As I said, I'm a prime optimist, so I'm excited about the opportunities that's coming on the Gen AI side. I think I'll answer a part of your question there was, how do you prepare your organization, right? So there are technical challenges specific to Gen AI. I mean, if anyone in the room has solved the problem of how do you define quality for unstructured data, come talk to me.
Got a line, right?
Because I think that challenge is not yet solved. I think the challenges on how do you put the right infrastructure in place, because no matter what the data and the quality of the data, we've all talked about, that is going to be as important as other AI models that we are going to do as well. But another example on where the securities are going to come in, security is going to come into place is, again, another question for the team out here is, anyone's had a Copilot and an M365 challenge? If not, come talk to me. Because when you're looking at some of the unstructured data, and even in a Copilot environment, you could come up with information in front of you that you're not supposed to be looking at. And that's the power of generative AI, because that's went into the model and the training of the model. So, so there are some technical hurdles that needs to be solved for the power of Gen AI to be really come to fruition at a large scale. Those are not unsurmountable problems to solve, but still they need to be solved. And that's what we need to prepare as data and analytics leaders for the organization.
Giorgio?
Yeah, so I was distracted. Somebody is watching some video. Can you just stop, just out of respect of everybody here? Thanks. I think everything you guys say is important. It's a key.
Yeah.
In my case, one of the things I'm excited for is see how miniaturization and efficiency on storage and computational power comes into the game, because it's still a challenge, it's still expensive in some cases. I think as we're running advertising on 30% of what you see, television, digital, and we have billions of transactions in any second, so having the power to forecast and model how a transaction is going to happen, what's the cost, which target is going to get, with a lower cost, we're going to save billions of dollars literally a day.
Yeah, wow.
globally, B, with a B.
All right,
What about you both?
Yeah, so if you use Gen AI responsibly, the future is going to be very optimistic. We have seen from last 5 years, it's dramatically changed. And so I would say use responsibly, and also, so these Gen AI solutions are going to empower, educate, empower, and guide our employees in organizations, customers, and businesses to take guided next steps. So how do we do that is based on my co-panelist mentioned about the data quality, infrastructure, and also ensure everybody see why we are doing, how we are doing, what we are doing, how that is going to help on their day-to-day life, and ensure your teams are rallying behind your vision. And let's get it done.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, we have enough time, I think, for 2 or 3 questions. It's hard for me to see. I have a light right shining in my face.
There's
Is
one
there a gentleman
question
right
here.
here? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, you want to share your name and where you're from?
Yeah, Abhishek Mittal from Walters Kluwer.
Okay.
He's out of New York. Very interesting panel. My question to you is, you talked about certain, that you were trying to find common themes for 80% adoption rate. So I work a lot with domain experts as well, right? So they are always stuck in nuances. So how did you solve that problem when you were launching a solution? I'm sure people would have come with examples. Oh, it doesn't work in this scenario. So can you talk a little bit about how did you handle those kinds of exception cases or nuances, or 20% or whatever you want to call it?
Absolutely. So I'll say that it's always a work in progress. I will not claim that it's 100% successful and it's fully launched and all nuances have been addressed, because that's never the case, as you know. But the way we are solving for it is we are upfront with our customer base, and the good news is that everybody's reading about AI these days, so everybody is familiar, so the conversation becomes that much easier. But the important part is that you be upfront and transparent about the accuracy and precision of your models. Because again, we talk about AI as if it's something that's suddenly non-technological or a silver bullet or a magic bullet that will solve the world's problems. But it's still an algorithm behind the scenes. It still needs data. It still needs quality data, the infrastructure behind the scenes to produce the output. So the way we address it is we have built this model that works for this use case. It works for this layout with this much accuracy and this much precision. If the layout changes, doesn't mean the model will not work, but the accuracy for that particular model is something that we haven't tested for. So then we need additional training time, additional quality testing time to come back with what will be the accuracy after you fine-tune the model again to make sure it works and solves the problems that we're trying to solve. So I know it sounds as simple as that, but when you are in these conversations with your customers, it's not very plain and simple, but it takes iterations after iterations. And once you prove yourself for that one nuance and then the second nuance, then I think it takes off from there, because they understand better, because now it becomes a proven model that, yeah, they said it didn't work. You need training, you need additional testing, and it worked. So from there, you repeat, right? Any other questions? We have one over here. Next time who comes on stage should probably carry sunglasses.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind sharing your name and where you're from, please.
My name is Simon. I'm from Kimberly Clark.
Yes.
So I have a multi-fold question for you guys. Right? We talk about data when it comes to AI. Data quality is not something that we've been talking now. It's been there for decades. do you guys think that we will ever solve this problem?
Who wants to take that?
So,
We can, for me, I'm seeing multiple organizations because I'm working cross-opera globally. Some organization can, some other don't, it depends on the organization. You can have, as many of them, all of us will say, garbage in, garbage out, right? But some cases, you can enter to an organization and say, hey, this data needs to be fixed. These are the attributes you need to leverage. This is the types you need to build. There's no budget, there's no team, is no restructure. So it depends a lot. Some organizations are getting way better. I'm working right now supporting a financial company, resetting the entire data set. In 6 months, we were able to clean up the data good enough to run multi-model, multi-componential models for Gen AI because we want to use multiple signals to inform creativity in real time while we do the transaction and then hitting on the bidding. But it took a lot of discussion there and have the approvals, pass all the information. They never did that. So it really depends case by case. Globally, no, always going to generate, somebody's going to always generate garbage. If all of us here commit that next year we're going to have 5% better data, will be already a success globally.
I think the data schemas, cataloging and lineage are very important in sustaining the quality of the data and reusability of those schemas wherever you need in your data platform. Rather than creating the multiple copies of the data for different purposes throughout your data platform, it is going to be unmanageable.
If I may add for you, I think we are all treating the symptoms. The only way to solve that is it's a cultural problem. You have to think data first. You have to think about where the source of the data is coming from. Are you generating quality? Is the people, the software engineers, the people who are implementing ERPs, people who are implementing those systems, are they aware of how this data will ultimately be used? And that is what the challenge is because they are not thinking about it. If you start going back to the source, which is a cultural change, which is making an elephant a dance, that is the problem to solve there. But post what we have, the data, the dirty data that we have, we know how to fix it, or at least most of us know how to do that. But you would continuously have those incoming data from those systems if you don't solve for that.
It's also just, if I may add one last thing there, it's making sure that before we start about any scaled AI projects, making sure you have your foundations right. So you have the right data governance models in place, the right data infrastructure in place. So if it cannot be fixed at the source, you have the right quality rules and business rules in your transformation layer that is helping you fix it before it's feeding your AI models. So no, I don't think it can ever be fully solved again, but there are ways to circumvent it before we talk about scaled AI.
That's a great question to end this session on. Thank you very much to all of our panelists.